what are you doing? She's yelling at me and she's like, you came all this way. There's no way you're gonna push your bike up that hill. You're gonna get on it and you're gonna pedal up that hill. Tarra Gundrum, born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. I left St. Louis right out of high school, went into the Marine Corps. That was my goal. Like, I had to be a Marine. So it's the best time of my life. Really helped shape me into the person that I am today. I reside here in Wisconsin with my husband and my 2 daughters. I've been married for 20 years now. I have a daughter in college and a daughter in high school. I love cycling. I love playing hockey, hiking, love playing with my dog, hunting, that's a big thing for me, fishing, anything outdoors, like that's me, that's who I am. Cycling found me when I was about 34 years old. I started doing triathlon, right? So I had a friend who said, hey, there's a junior triathlon or a mini triathlon at the YMCA. You should check it out. So I checked it out. I really enjoyed it. I wasn't the best swimmer, wasn't the best runner, but biking is something that I really enjoyed. So after really getting into triathlon and cycling for sprint and then Olympic and then half Ironman, I just really enjoyed it all the way around. So I would do cycling just for the sport, just for the training of it. And then even after I had a big knee injury, I continued to cycle for the therapy. And I mean, cycling is just good year round. I love it. It's good for everything. Basically, I started out right here with Extreme Ski and Bike. So Extreme Ski and Bike has a mountain bike team, they have a racing criterium team, and then an endurance team. So I started out on the extreme endurance team, and that was kind of how I got into the long range triathlon and things like that. Cycling has taught me that I'm more capable of some things than I really truly think that I am. I've really had to overcome a lot of challenging times on the bike, whether it was believing in myself, believing that I should be out there doing what I'm doing. Hills, oh man, hills have really caused me to dig deep and just find like extra motivation and extra energy to kind of get through. And you know, you hit headwinds, you hit all sorts of crazy things that you have to overcome, and really in those moments of overcoming those things, it translates to my life. Like when I'm going through the suck, you know, I kind of like relate it to things in my life, and you realize that, wait, this isn't so bad. And then it translates into my life where if I'm going through something tough, you know, whether it's family, relationships, job, anything like that, I can really relate, and I can kind of reflect, and I can find that balance and not give up. So cycling has really translated into my life that way. When I started cycling, it was kind of like a worry about what's next. So I wish that when I started cycling, I wasn't so worried about the future, that I just focused on the now, because I think that that would have been much more enjoyable. Embrace every moment for what it is and really don't worry about anything else. It's kind of like something I really truly believe in is don't worry about tomorrow, like focus on today. So that's like what I know now. I wish I would have just focused on the moment and let God worry about everything else and just kind of live in the moment. My greatest cycling challenges and obstacles really truly all have to do with hills, right? So, I mean, when I did an event called the Horrible Hilly 100s, that is in the kind of northern Madison area here in Wisconsin, and the name itself is just like crazy. So you can imagine that it was challenging. And that day, it rained, it snowed or hailed, it was windy, and the hills were absolutely horrible. I mean, that is one event where its name stood up to it like the test of time. And so I remember getting to a hill that I couldn't quite get up, and I was doing like these like switchbacks, like trying to get up this hill. And when I got to the finish line, I was on another hill. I didn't realize I was on the finish line. I just realized I couldn't get up this hill. So I got off my bike and I started pushing my bike up the hill. And this lady like totally stopped me, and she's like, "What are you doing?" She's yelling at me, and she's like, "You came all this way. There's no way you're gonna push your bike up that hill. You're gonna get on it and you're gonna pedal up that hill." So she held my bike while I got on the seat, got locked in the clips, and she pushed me probably like a good 10 feet or so, and until I could get going. And then before you know it, I was pedaling. So that like really that moment, that was like the hardest thing I'd ever done cycling, but it really took a community, someone who cared, someone who kind of been there, and they wanted to see me accomplish something good. And so with the help of a bystander who I totally love, like if I saw her, I'd give her a hug today, she allowed me to finish something, and that right there taught me never ever to quit, no matter what. Get to the end, even if you have to like super dig deep, and even if you need a little help. It's cool. So I accomplished that with the help of community, and it meant the world to me. Cycling has really gave me just like a restored faith in humanity. I went on my very first tour during a pandemic. So in May of this year, I went on a tour from the northern Harbor Springs area of Michigan all the way down to Ludington, and I did it by myself 100%. And the challenge, or the unexpected place, was that I was encountering people that I never would have encountered. I stayed at Warm Showers as a guest. So there's this site called Warm Showers where these are complete strangers that are opening their doors to you. And you know, there has to be some trust, there has to be some faith, but like otherwise I would have been kind of on my own in the middle of nowhere. So I kind of allowed myself to be vulnerable and to smartly like make the best decisions that I can with strangers, and I was able to get through the most wonderful trip. I mean, strangers helped me fix my bike, repair flats. They helped guide me through detours and things like that in town. They gave me recommendations of bike shops, anytime that I needed help. They wanted to see me succeed, and I learned so much from them. And honestly, as a Black woman traveling through Michigan by myself during a pandemic, I wasn't so sure, but I had faith in God, and I had faith in the fact that the people wanted to really see me do well. I was able to have the best time. So that is something that I never would have done without cycling. I don't think that I ever would have stayed at a stranger's house, or on a couple of occasions I had to take a ride from a stranger because my bike had malfunctioned in some sort of way. It's just a different mindset, and now I think I'm more faithful because of that. Don't get me wrong, I'm truly aware of my surroundings, but I think I just have a little bit more faith in humanity, and bicycling totally did that. So safety for me is huge, right? So I do several things to make my family comfortable in the fact that I'm safe. One thing that I do before I leave for a trip is I'll put out, like, I'm super detailed, so I have this like Excel spreadsheet, and it's like, okay, this is where I plan on staying, this is the amount of mileage between here, here, and here, and then it's like if I'm expected to come across a store or a bike shop, or if I plan on going grocery shopping somewhere, I literally put the address of the place and the number, because I figure if something happens to me between checkpoints, my husband will have a reference point of, the area, right? So that's one thing that I do, super detailed. The other thing that I do is on my Garmin computer device, I have something called like Connect Live. So I share that with my loved ones. So my husband, like my best friend will have it, my daughter will have it, my sister will have it, and they have an opportunity to kind of check in on me whenever they, see fit. So they know my route, my expectation, and then now they can kind of check in on me through the app and see where I am. So that's like something that I do. The other thing that I do is I like agree upon checkpoints. like, so my husband is used to me checking in with him. Like, he knows when I start, or if he's not around or if he's working or something, I'll be like, all right, I'm leaving at 4, I'll check in with you around lunch or something like that. So just nice checkpoints. I always wear my road ID. That's something. And on here, I have my hubby, my sissy, and then my lingo, find your possible, because I figure if anything happens to me, at least I was like living my dream. So that's one thing that I do for safety. The other thing that I do for safety is like, so I'm a YouTuber. I'm trying to be a little YouTuber, and I don't go live. Like, I don't want anyone knowing where I am in the moment other than my loved ones. So when you see a YouTube video or something like that, for me, it might be a day or two late, like I've already passed through. But that's something that for safety you really got to be cautious of. Like, don't put your live description out there. Maybe a photo here or there, take the location off. But yeah, you can talk to your friends later once you know you're safe. That's cool. But make sure your loved ones kind of know where they are. That's what I do. Find your possible is a mantra of mine. Like, I use it all the time. And what that means is there's going to be a lot of things in life that you might want to do, or one might aspire to try, but they don't feel confident. They don't feel like that they're capable of doing it. Maybe they don't feel like they belong in that realm. But find your possible is like, no, if you want to do something, you can do it, right? You can adapt the situation to fit you and your ability. And find your possible means never give up on your dreams. It means don't ever stop doing something because you're not doing it to the level of the person next to you, or you don't fit that perfect, description of someone who's doing that particular activity or chasing that particular dream. It's all about make it possible for you. Like, there's so many things I've done in my life, right? So swimming for me was so hard. I mean, anybody who knows me, they know that it took like everything to get me focused and steady in swimming. But I did it, and I did it with determination, and I did it with adapting the situation to me and making it work for me, right? I'm not the fastest, but I'm not gonna drown, right? So I will figure out how to survive and stay on top of that water. So that's an example of find your possible. For me, like, hockey is an example of find your possible. I couldn't even skate when my friend asked me to try hockey, but I said, you know what, it sounds fun and it sounds exciting, so I'm gonna give it a shot. And I mean, I had to look at YouTube videos on how to get dressed, but I was able to skate, and I love it. I can't wait for winter so I can get out and do some pond hockey. Like, that's totally my jam. And then there's so many other things, like when you get into like professionalism and jobs and things like that, sometimes it's like, do I deserve a seat at this table with all these executives? Like, am I smart enough to be here? It's like, heck yeah, you're smart enough to be here. Heck yeah, you deserve a seat at that table. So work it out, do your research. Like, you still gotta work, right? But it's possible. If you don't think that you can go 30 miles, get on a bike and go 5. And then the next time, get on and go 10, right? Try. Don't think that you have to live up and measure up to someone else's expectation, because the bike is super friendly. I mean, if you can't get on the 2 wheels, get on 4. Get training wheels, get tricycles. Like, I don't even care. Like, you could totally do it. So if you have a balance issue, get that supporting element. Now you're on a trike. And if you want to get down to 2, get down to 2. If you have physical ailments and you can't go far, you can't go fast, you just don't have the strength, there's something called the e-bike. And guess what? That allows you to add a little bit of support when you need it. If you can't get up that hill, you can get a little bit of assist. If hills are your problem, there's no shame in walking that bike up that hill, because the bottom line is what goes up must come down. So once you get up to the top of that hill, you can totally enjoy the downward, and it is so rewarding. And then, as you get older, if it's more and more challenging, just figure out the way that works for you. Like, there's so many cool things. So that's what I would say is try, and don't ever get up on yourself, and just don't worry about measuring up to someone else's expectations. Like, you are your own expectation, and you can change that level whenever you need to. It's really important to tell the stories of the people that I meet, because I really think that our lives are constantly evolving, right? And one thing that I like about cycling is that I get to meet people that I normally wouldn't meet. So when I meet these interesting people along my cycling rides, I want to get their story out there, because I'm now giving access to that person. You know, I'm telling their story, I'm sharing it, and I'm letting somebody else know how cycling has kind of like changed me, how cycling has allowed me to meet awesome people. And I learn a lot from some of these stories. I mean, I met some children while I was out in Pittsburgh. I was biking from Pittsburgh to DC, and I met these kids that were like younger than my kids. I mean, I think one was like 13, one was 15, and one was 12. And they had just cycled 50 miles that day, and they were camping out. And I love to tell that story because I like to inspire other children to know that it is possible and that they could do it. And not only can they do it, but these kids are doing it, right? So I love telling stories like that. I love finding people or coming across people who have some sort of physical challenge or disability, or sometimes even mental challenges. I've seen some folks that were blind and they were out there cycling. I've seen some folks that were extremely overweight, and now cycling has allowed them to kind of, you know, drop some weight and get moving more, and they're more excited, they're more positive and energetic about their life, and they're doing better like in all aspects because of that. I've seen people who use cycling as therapy. Like, I totally use cycling as therapy. I like to say that I'm burning off the crazy, because that's truly what I'm doing. I can get on my bike for hours and just like totally relax. And I just like to tell those stories because I want people to know that they have an outlet, right? And cycling can be that outlet for them. It's like such just mental clarity and strength and focus and all of that. So yeah, storytelling is amazing because I think that it truly inspires folks. My favorite part about bike touring is logistical planning, right? So it sounds silly, it might sound dorky, but when you think about the concept of starting in this place and ending here, it's like, and all of the elements in between, that is so fun for me. I'm like, okay, whatever I have or whatever I need, I have to pack it on my bike. Or it's like, if I forget something, I have to be like innovative and I have to figure out how to make it work. Figuring out where I'm gonna stay is fun, you know, because it's like, all right, do I need a tent? Am I gonna meet someone new or something like that? And the people that I meet, that's gotta be probably right up there. Planning the trip because you're super excited about it the whole time you're planning it, and then meeting the people. But the one thing about connecting bicycle touring and meeting the people is you have to kind of be free and let it happen, right? So I'm like that bicycle tourist, that good old Wisconsin bicycle tourist, you know, pedaling down the street like, hey, like, hi, how you doing? Like, good morning, you know, and you're opening the opportunity to be engaging, and that's when the magic happens. Like, that's totally what I love. I think the biggest bike touring misconception is that you have to be fast, right? So you don't have to be fast. And the other misconception is you have to go super far. Like, I hear some bicycle tourists that go 100 miles a day. And for me, I'm like, no way. Like, if that was literally the standard, I'm not bicycle touring, right? It's just not gonna happen. So I'm more of a, you know, 50, 60 mile a day kind of gal, because I like to stop and smell the roses. And I'm more of like a 10 to 13 mile an hour kind of gal, depending on the terrain, you know? So it's like, no, you don't have to go 100 miles a day. No, you don't have to go 18, 20 miles an hour. You really are touring, so you should be enjoying the areas that you're passing through. You should be talking to the people that are in the communities. I mean, because otherwise, get in a car. So this is a super amazing story. All right, this was my first year cycling, and I was doing my very first century ride, and this was in Newburgh, Wisconsin, through something, the Women's Century. And so I left at maybe 7 o'clock that morning. But the bike ride itself, the event had multiple distances. So it was like 100 miles, and then maybe like the 70 milers left a little later, and then it was like 45, and then maybe 15 or something. So at any rate, I tell that story because when I was coming back, there were some other members of the event, and they were there. And it was all of these black women in the middle of Newburgh, Wisconsin. Like, I literally was the only black girl in the middle of Newburgh, Wisconsin, right? So to see this, I was like, whoa. And then they were super crazy excited. They were clapping, they were screaming. They had on like these black girl do bike kits and everything. And they're like, you go, sister, whoa, they're screaming. And I'm like, whoa, hi, like, who are these crazy women? And this one lady, Denise, she said, oh my gosh, we heard that a sister was out there doing a century ride, and we had to stay and say hi and give our support. And from that day, like, I just fell in love with Black Girls Do Bike. I'm like, these women are out here, they are cycling, like some of them just started cycling, and some of them have been doing it for a while. But they are awesome examples in their community. They are a team, right? They're a group of women who want to see the other women in the group succeed and do well, and they want to share their experiences with them. They really, truly want to support anyone getting out and getting on their bikes and just enjoying this wonderful bike community. So when I came upon that group of ladies, I mean, I was like, wow, this isn't your average bicycle club. This is like truly a community, and it really got me excited. So like, I love it, y'all. Like, keep it up, keep supporting, keep screaming, because I heard you from like a half mile away. If you want to ride with me, I'm here in Wisconsin. You can always catch me on social. I have my adventures page. It's T Guns Adventures. That's on Facebook. I got T Guns Adventures on Instagram. I have my website, which is tarragundrum.com. You can check me out there. I'm constantly just like posting stuff or saying, you know, who wants to ride, or I'll get better at putting meetups out there, but I'm on the interurban trail all the time. And I'm super excited to get more folks involved in bicycle touring. So I'm doing little overnights, little one-nighters and two-nighters just over the weekends. So yeah, I'd love to hook up and check out my website, and you'll find out when I'm doing more things in the area.